We are very happy to see so many participants from different countries, institutions, and scientific disciplines. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Today's webinar is designed to provide an overview of the Antarctica InSync implementation process and the development of our standard operating procedures. These SOPs will help us coordinate observations and field activities across different research communities and national programs. Our goal today is not only to present information about the ongoing activities within the different themes and working groups, but also to show you how you can get involved in campaigns, for example. Everything is still open for further contributions, so we would like to encourage everyone listening today to get involved and to get in contact with the speakers and team leads if you are interested in joining. Throughout the webinar, you will have the opportunity to ask questions using the Padlet. The link for the Padlet will be shared in the chat in just a moment. The speakers and theme leads will then be able to answer your questions directly there. We hope that today's meeting will help strengthening our diverse and international network and contribute to building a shared framework for coordinated Antarctic observations in the years ahead. As always, we plan to publish a recording for this webinar on our website and YouTube channels afterwards. So if you share anything in your presentations that you would not like to be made publicly available, please let us know and we'll make sure to remove it before we publish everything. Before we begin now, I would like to thank all of today's speakers for their valuable contributions and for being part of today's webinar. A special thank goes to ESA for their great support in organizing this webinar as well. We also thank all of you listening right now for joining and participating in this webinar. And now I would like to hand over to Alex and Steffi, who will give us a short introduction and provide an overview of the implementation plan. Thank you very much for joining the webinar today.
Thanks. Yes, and first of all, also from my side and from Alex as science coordination, coordinators, kind of like of Antarctica InSync. We are really happy also to see all of you here and to continue all our really fruitful and nice discussions that we have now already since years, also within that webinar now. You can see here now, just like briefly, the outline of today's webinar. So what will happen now is that Alex and me will give a brief overview and insight into what we plan with respect to the implementation plan, as Colleen just mentioned beforehand. And then afterwards, each of the 7 themes, as well as the Earth observation cross-cutting theme, will have the opportunity to just like give briefly an update on what is going on in terms of implementation and standard operating procedures in the different themes. Afterwards, we will then hear from Apex also their perspective and their evolution or our kind of like development throughout Antarctica InSync. And this will be then followed by a really nice compilation of campaigns where we know already how they might contribute to Antarctica InSync. And to also like open here the floor to show all of these nice contributions, which will be also part of the implementation plan, as you will see later. And last but not least, we will just like then relieve you from these then really hopefully insightful 2 hours with a brief insight into next steps and upcoming conferences and meetings with respect to Antarctica InSync. And with that, yes, I want to start now with the introductory part. On the next slide. And we can just like skip that one and just like move on, because before we want to jump into the introduction of the implementation plan, I just like want to briefly recap what was our major milestone that we reached, which we reached pretty much focused during 2025, but then really finally implemented now in 2026. And this is our science plan, which consisted of all these different white papers that got that were written throughout the year by the different themes. And this is the moment to really say a really, really big thank you to all of you here on the call and to all the different theme leads and theme contributors who made that huge effort possible, because this is really one big milestone that we reached, and it's really nice to see how all these different science contributions towards Antarctica InSync came here together. This whole science plan has been now submitted to SCAR, and we are just like actually waiting every day for the final confirmation that it's now publicly available through the SCAR website. And once that has happened, you will see that on the one hand, the whole Antarctica InSync science plan will get one DOI, so can be like cited as a whole, but then also each theme will be cited in a similar way. So that you can in the end refer to either the whole thing or to the different themes. Also, you will see that the science plan is not only the compilation of all the different themes, but Alex and myself also wrote an overall Antarctica InSync introduction and like how we got to the point where we are now. And also led by Nicole Bibo, we have also one huge contribution from the policy point of view and how this is all framed from that perspective. Yes, and that just like this is kind of now our starting point to really move into the actual implementation, given that we have now the science plan. And therefore now, yes, the next plan is actually the implementation plan. And this is like what we want to and on the next slides, you can see that this implementation plan is basically our vision that this should consist in the end of three main pillars. And these three main pillars are on the one hand, the standard operating procedures for the different key variables that get defined within the science plan. We think about like a compilation of all expeditions in the expedition catalog. And last but not least, it's of course also about the data and publication policy. Let us therefore now just like jump into these different three pillars in order to give you a rough idea of like what we envision from the science coordination team, how this can look like. And therefore I start now with the SOPs for the key variables on the next slide. And these SOPs are the standard operating procedures. This is what we do see as kind of major contribution to the implementation plan from the scientific point of view. So this is like really in the end, bringing basically the science plan that I was just like talking about before into life. And when we talk about these standard operating procedures and what is like the idea behind that, it's of course nothing that we need to like completely like where we need to come up with something completely new. However, this is pretty much something that where we can build on, and also what is already outlined in the science plan by existing essential climate, ocean, biodiversity, and ecosystem service variables, as well as related frameworks. So this should really kind of like be the basis for this whole part of this pillar of the Antarctic science plan, of the Antarctica InSync implementation plan. At the same point, we want to make sure that we have in the end a common understanding of how these SOPs will be like, kind of like lined out throughout all the different themes for all the different key variables that you defined within your different themes. And therefore, it's our target to develop a common template across all themes. And these templates, for example, include sections on variable description, the units, the measurement principles, uncertainties, limitations, and whatever comes to your mind. As you see, it's still a little bit vague, but this is on purpose because we want here really to hear what is like what are your thoughts from the different themes, what should be part of these like overarching structure for the different SOPs. We therefore would like to ask the theme leads of the different themes to provide feedback by beginning of October, which sections you think should be considered as essential part for the description of these SOPs. So please get with this feedback back to Alex and myself. Once we have that, we will compile based on that a really like real template that is then meant to be filled and brought to life in like combination then with the science plan. So all the different key variables that you lined out in the science plan should be then kind of like moved into this implementation plan of the SOPs. And therefore, the actual time frame would be that we aim to do this like movement from the science plan into the implementation plan with a template provided by us. This should mainly happen during Frascati, but can, of course, happen already before, because as you hopefully know, there will be the next in-person workshop in Frascati mid of November. We will talk about that briefly again in the end. So this is the main purpose and main time where we will bring together that. However, the whole thing of the standard operating procedures for all the different themes should be hopefully done by the end of 2026. And we know that this is like really ambitious. However, given that we have then already beginning of 2027 first expeditions that will contribute to Antarctica InSync as kind of pre-expeditions, just like before the main operating time period, we therefore aim to have that done, have that already done by that pretty early time, in order to also provide them already a solid basis that we can build on with the other expeditions. And with that, we go to the next slide, and I hand over to Alex.
Yes, hello everyone, also from my side. So the next component of the implementation plan, as we envision it, would be to also share all the available infrastructure and expeditions within Antarctica InSync, and also do a bit of matchmaking between the scientists, the different themes, and the infrastructure that's available. And for this, we really need to have a full catalog of planned expeditions as well as opportunities, and also what kind of infrastructure we have and what the capabilities of these infrastructures is. For this, already a template exists that also the coordination office has prepared, and that has been sent out to the different national contacts already. But you can also get it by just contacting the coordination office to fill in this template and provide updates on your plans with expeditions, with different infrastructures that are available, and then send it back to us. We can always update it. So if you feel like you don't have all the information yet, it still helps to receive the information that you have as early as possible, because only then we can ensure that the community is aware and that contacts are being made. So we would appreciate any information on that as soon as you have it. There is an alternative way for this to happen that we envision that should go through Polar Decks and due south. And this is something that we will talk later in the webinar a little bit in more detail about, which should contain the same information in the end, and the template is oriented along these lines, but it will enable you to also edit it yourself and get a full overview of everything. Nevertheless, we want to compile this information in the end in the implementation plan, and have individual pages for each of the expeditions infrastructures that will contribute to Antarctica InSync in one form or the other. It's very diverse. We are aware of this, and different infrastructures have different options. Different countries have different options to get involved. But we will make sure to communicate this also through the implementation plan. With this being said, in contrast to the SOPs that we hope to have finished early on in the field campaign phase, say hopefully by the end of this year, we are aware that more and more infrastructures will become available throughout also the next year and the years after. So we will keep this catalog open to be appended throughout the field campaign phase of Antarctica InSync. If you go to the next slide, the third component of the implementation plan is really about the data management, about data policies that we envision and that we will develop jointly as a community also for Antarctica InSync. We envision that we will have the cross-cutting data theme to develop a data plan, a data policy that they will also share with the community. They will also share this in Frascati, and we can further discuss. You can also engage with the cross-cutting data theme to also contribute to this effort. And then we will envision that all data that's being collected under the Antarctica InSync umbrella shall also follow the data plan and the data policy that we develop jointly. Then we also encourage everyone that in the end contributes to Antarctica InSync and if you plan your expedition, to also consider data stewards to accompany your expeditions, your campaigns from the beginning, because that will greatly help to also fulfill the data management plan and make sure that you get most out of your data and share it with the community in a way that we are able in the end to benefit as a whole community from the data that is being collected. So with this, I hand back over to Colleen.
Okay, Colleen seems to have some issues. So therefore, we maybe just continue now and jump into the different themes as outlined here in the schedule. And with that, we hand over to the speakers of theme 1.
And for that, I invite to present Juan Hofer.
Thanks, Diego. I hope you can hear me. If not, please leave a message or something.
Yes.
Thanks. Perfect. So I am here presenting on behalf of all the coordinating team that you can see all the amazing names that go along with mine. So what we are presenting here is the part related to theme 1 as it's the stealing out of the scientific plan that Steffi was talking about. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Thanks. So from the scientific plan, we have the key variables, and this is the ones that we are already identified. Maybe not comprehensive, maybe somewhat remiss, but more or less is most of them. So we have the basic oceanographic variables like salinity, temperature, pressure, velocities and currents, and so on. And we also have everything that is related with the marine chemistry. So this of oxygen, isotopes like oxygen 18, concentration of different trace gases like CO2, N2O or CH4, and we also have macro and micronutrients, especially iron and manganese, as these were, and magnesium, as these were the key variables. And also related to these gases and all these things, we have air-sea fluxes. So this is related with how we measure those. And for those, we need the concentrations, both in the seawater and the atmosphere, plus all the weather observations. And for other air-sea fluxes like heat, freshwater, and all these things, we need also to measure the freshwater inputs, the heat inputs, and the momentum, including turbulent and radiative. So these are all the things that we have related with the part of the theme 1, and everything is related with sea ice, which is another theme of the Antarctic InSync, but is tightly coupled with some of the results that we are looking. So we also need to coordinate with them and look into the thickness, type of sea ice, the extent, temporal and spatial, and so on. And finally, for the carbon part, which is a big part of this theme 1, we have all the biology of the biological carbon pump, not only the inorganic. So we have things like chlorophyll, particularly organic carbon, dissolved organic carbon, and so on. Also, we put in the scientific plan somewhere that we also have to measure rates like primary production, grazing, fecal pellets production, and so on. So moving to the next one, please. So these key variables are interlocked with different working groups. No? So as you know, we are already forming, and most of them are already formed. We have a lot of working groups that tribute to different themes and cross-cutting different themes. And the idea is that now we will coordinate and connect the different working groups so they get together and decide on SOPs for the variables that they share. So for instance, we have a working group working in carbon cycle that is already beginning to establish the key variables and the starting operating procedures. And the idea is to coordinate with others that use similar things. Another group that we have here, you have the contacts and updates. Please take a picture or something if you want to contribute. We have microbes and macronutrients that obviously look into the microbes, both macronutrients and micronutrients, and they are working and preparing a first draft of a review paper, and the starting of proceedings will come after that. I think we have another slide, if I remember correctly. Okay, so we have one group that is already established on methane. So they are now joined together to start working in the STAR SOPs. So if you want to check with them, please get in contact. You have the names on the top. Then if we move to the next one, this is related with freshwater and salinity, in this case through satellite. And they're starting also to collect the standard precedent procedure. And finally, we have, I think, this one and the other slide, where you have here, for instance, two working groups working in coastals, one more in the biochemistry, and the one on the top in atmosphere, ice, ocean interactions, or in the physical part. And finally, in this slide, we have one working group that is starting to form around the use of Argo floats and the variables that we can derive from there. I think we have another final, maybe, slide for the working groups. Yeah, so we have one that is studying and is focusing on water isotopes around Antarctica. So they have recently started, and they will keep this discussion during the SCAR. So if you are attending the conference, please join them when you're interested. Then we have one working group center in Gyres that is starting to get momentum and gather people around. So if you're interested, please contact Torge Martin. You have here the names. And finally, Steffi can say more about this, but they're starting to look another working group that is related partially to this theme, that is using drifting voids. So really interesting to measure currents and these kind of things. So this is starting. You have here Steffi, please contact them. I think we are almost done. Last slide, maybe. So the idea is to produce now the standard operation procedures. So the idea is we will try to coordinate with all the working groups to agree on protocols that overlap between the protocols that are used for the overlapping key variables among the different working groups. And the idea is to work towards having a really good template for the Frascati meeting that will be in November in this year, as we all know, and we will hear more about. So we will contacting and you will hear more of us. If you want to participate in this, please try to contact the relevant working groups that you're interested and you want to participate. And through those, you can be part of this process. I think that's all. It's the last one. So I want to thank everybody and thank my amazing colleagues for helping to prepare this. If you have any questions, please ask in the Padlet or wherever. Thank you. I hope I stay on time.
Okay, thank you, Juan, for the nice update about Team 1. For the second talk, I invite to present Stephanie Ahn, who will present the updates about Team 2.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy to present now the current status of the Theme 2 on behalf of the leadership of Theme 2, but in particular also of the whole group and science team behind us in the leadership team, because this is really a major contribution to everything that I'm just presenting now. So on the next slide, you can see what are actually our current running projects and planned projects also, what is coming next. And therefore, we've been in Theme 2 from the beginning in the really lucky position that we could build our whole theme onto two already existing working groups within SCAR. And this is like the BEPSI group for the biogeochemical stuff and the aspect group for all the CS physics stuff. And this is was a major advantage, I would say. And this is something that we really profit a lot from. However, of course, now also over the last years, in particular month, I must admit, more projects got alive. And this is pretty nice to see also how their Antarctica InSync helped in order to shape these different projects. And there's on the one hand, the EU project Synchrony, which is led by Alex Haumann, which main key objective is actually to establish a coordinated international synchronized observatory in the Southern Ocean and to really bring all the different perspectives within the coupled climate system together from this coordination approach for the observing system. On the other hand, there is currently an Antarctica InSync linked New Zealand and US joint pilot project, which is called Drivers and Implications of Rapid Sea Ice Decline in the Ross Sea. This is a project that is led by Inga Smith from New Zealand, and on the American side, it's Ted Maxim, who is coordinating here mainly. They plan to have a field work just now in November this year, which is also involving remote sensing and modeling aspects. And in an ideal world, this project is then meant to like continue into the Antarctica InSync project phase in order to then really get alive outside this pilot project phase that we are in currently. Yes, on the next slide, you can then see in terms of like, current projects and also working group contributions and what is also there planned. On the one hand, there's a working group within our theme, which is called the Observation System Design for AI for CIS Surveillance, the OASIS group, which is coordinated by Lauren Hoffman and François Mazonet. On the other hand, there is the Coastal Hotspot working group, which is led by Theme 1, however, where also major contributions from Theme 2. In addition, as it was already outlined also by Juan, there is currently ongoing efforts in establishing additional working groups within our theme. So it's on the one hand, the iStethered platforms that I try to coordinate, actually through also the project that I just mentioned before, the Synchrony project. So this will be there a major milestone in order to support that one. And on the other hand, we are just about to submit a proposal for a working group on the Antarctic Fast Ice Network. This is a network that is already existing, however, got a little bit like behind, I would say. So therefore, we try also here to use the momentum of Antarctica InSync to get this again alive. Based on all of that, on the next slide, you can now see what we envision within our theme as major contribution to the science, to the implementation plan for the mentioned SOP part. Therefore, you can see here what we came up within the science plan as key variables for our 4 different research questions. And our aim is here now to focus on the, first of all, focus on the essential climate variables that are marked here in bold in all of these different themes. And this is what we want to start with, and where we can also, as you can see on the next slide, actually see that we want to base our SOP procedures now kind of on SOPs that are already around, because luckily there has been quite some efforts already in the past. So we had on the one hand, as you might know, the Mosaic expedition in the Arctic, where we also developed a similar framework for similar observations at the end of the day. We have then projects as WOBEC, from the ecosystem perspective, who also developed already SOPs for the last expeditions. Then there are collections like from South Africa, there are collections through Aspect on the website, and so on and so forth. And this is all what we can really nicely build on. In addition, there is currently under development a best practice from the WMO, which is also pretty great, because they also actually went along the same strings that we now plan to follow. And we are really in the hopefully good position that we can just like build solidly like everything what we will do based on these best practices, because these best practices also involved already just like the SOPs that I mentioned before. So therefore, now our aim within Theme 2 is to get the full overview of all existing SOPs and really think based on that what we aim to be the major part then for the implementation plan, and then really bring all these things together for the Frascati meeting. And last but not least, I want just like only briefly on the next slide dive into what is already well known for our theme in terms of upcoming expeditions and where a major sea ice component will be. This is like what you can see here marked on that map. We will go in more detail at the later stage within that webinar here. But just that you get an idea of like in which regions we have already sea ice expeditions planned, and just like reach out to the different PIs, as you will then see later in the expedition blog of that webinar to learn more about it. Yes, and with that, I'm at the end. Happy to take any questions in the Padlet or just like reach out to me or Rushla per mail. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steffi. And now we come to Theme 3, and the presenter will be Gael. Are you there?
I thank you for the introduction. So I think we can move on directly to the next slides. And so it's my pleasure to summarize and make an update of our advance on Team 3 on behalf of all the coaches and all contributors, including working groups conveners. So Yes, next slide. So in January, we presented Team 3 mainly as a draft science plan contribution centered on the processes driving rapid change in Antarctic ice sheet and ice shelves. So since then, the paper has been revised following community feedback. Thank you very much. The main structure remains centered on coupled processes at the ice-ocean, ice-atmosphere, and ice-bed interfaces. But the emphasis is now shifting towards implementation. So for this update, I will therefore not repeat the full January presentation, and instead I will briefly recall the 10-3 priorities, then focus on the working groups now associated with the team, the emerging SOP needs, and the planned activities that can help translate the science priorities into coordinated observations. So next slide, please. So as likely you may know, Team 3 focuses on the process driving rapid change in Antarctic ice sheet and ice shelves. So the key point is that these changes are not controlled by one component alone. So they result from coupled processes acting across several interfaces. The ocean delivers heat to ice shelf cavities and grounding zone. The atmosphere controls snowfall, surface melt, firn evolution, and surface mass balance. And then the bed and solid earth influence basal condition, grounding line stability, and ice flow. So in the white paper, we structured this around 4 main knowledge gap: ice dynamics and structural integrity, ice-ocean interactions, atmospheric forcing and surface processes, and basal condition, grounding zone, and solid earth controls. So for this update, I will keep this scientific framing brief. The important message here is that Team 3 is now is not only about observing ice sheet change, but about identifying the key processes and variables that explain why these change are happening, why it is most rapid, and how it can better be represented in models and projections. So next slides. Addressing this knowledge gap require integrated multi-platform observation across ice, ocean, atmosphere, and bed, obviously. In situ measurement remain essential to constrain key processes, but they also must be completed by airborne and satellite observation to ensure spatial coverage. So finally, observation must be sustained and coordinated to capture variability and to reduce uncertainty in models and projections. So to translate knowledge gap into actionable observing strategy, the paper defined key variables. These variables span ice, ocean, atmosphere, and bed, and target the key interface highlighted earlier. And you have a list on the slide. So priority is given to the variables that directly constrain processes, not only system state, as I said, and that can be observed synchronously across domains. So the intent is that the key variables guide also supersite design, measurement strategy, and links between observation and models. So on the next slide, this slide shows how the Team 3 science priority are now being translated into working groups. Please have a look on the website for further details and find the contact of the working group coordinators. The 3 blue boxes are the core Team 3 working groups. Ice shelf ocean interaction addresses the ice-ocean interface, including ocean heat delivery, cavity circulation, and basal melt. Surface mass balance working group addresses the ice-atmosphere interface, including snowfall, melt, firn, and accumulation processes. Subglacial environment working group addresses the ice bed and grounding zone interfaces, including basal condition, hydrology, and bed priorities. I also show 2 cross-team links. Coastal hotspot is already endorsed and is relevant to Team 3 because coastal region are key processes where atmosphere, ocean, and sea ice and ice shelf processes interact. And the final box, the extreme event impact on the cryosphere working group, is shown with a dashed outline because it's still pending working group proposal. So it is not yet endorsed, but it would be highly relevant as a cross-team activity, especially for linking Team 3 with sea ice and climate variability through atmospheric and marine extreme events. So the main point is that Team 3 now has a clear implementation structure, 3 core ice interface working groups, plus cross-team links that capture coastal coupling at extreme event impact. At the same time, this structure should remain open. Other working groups or focused activities may emerge as community priorities become clearer and as coordination needs developed. So beyond the science team working groups shown here, Team 3 also connects the broader Antarctica InSync cross-cutting activities. In particular, the Earth observation cross-cutting team is highly relevant because satellite observation provide the Antarctic scale context needed to link local processes studies, field campaigns, and model evaluation. So next slide. On this one, we show how Team 3 moved from scientific priorities to practical implementation. So the working groups identify the key processes and variables across the ice ocean, ice atmosphere, and ice bed interfaces. So the next step is to translate these priorities into shared measurement and reporting protocol. Observations are made, documented, quality control, and shared. And this will be rediscussed in the Frascati meeting, as I mentioned in the introduction. So after the team update talks, the webinar will include presentation on national campaign and expedition. So I will therefore not list the campaign here. Instead, from the Team 3 perspective, the important point is that this activity should be connected through shared variables, metadata, uncertainty estimate, and data formats so that the observation from different teams, platform, and region can be compared and combined. So for ice ocean studies, this means coordinated observation of ocean forcing, cavity circulation, and basal melt. And for surface mass balance and atmospheric processes, it means comparable measurement of snowfall, melt, firn properties, and surface energy balance. So, and finally, for subglacial and grounding zone studies, it means constrain the bed properties, basal condition, and grounding zone geometry that can be directly used in models. So, cross-team activities, including work on extreme events, add another important dimension. They can help harmonize definition, identify unusual atmospheric or marine events, and encourage opportunistic observation when this event occurs. So the main message is that working groups, shared protocols, and campaigns should be formed on implementation chain, leading to interoperable dataset synthesis and improved modeling. So please do not hesitate to contact working group leaders to have more details and being involved. So my last slide to conclude, Team 3 has now moved from science framing towards implementation. So the Team 3 paper has been revised following your feedback, and it is now provide the reference framework for coordination. The scientific focus has not changed. It remains centers on coupled processes at the ice ocean, ice atmosphere, and ice bed interfaces, and 3 working groups are working on this. So as I said, the next step is now to translate this revised framework into practice, linking key variables to the working groups, identifying shared measurement and reporting protocols, and ensuring that observation from different teams, platforms, and regions are comparable and model ready. So after the team update talks, the webinar will include presentation on national campaign and expedition. So from a Team 3 prospect perspective, the key question is how this activity collectively address the main interfaces, variables, and modeling needs. So
we need to come to an end.
That's my last sentence. We want to emphasize that the structure should remain open. The current working groups provide a strong foundation, but additional working groups or focused activity may emerge where the community identifies clear coordination needs. So the main message is that Team 3 now has a revised scientific framework, and it's entering the implementation phase where observation, shared protocols, and campaigns and models need to be connected. So thank you. Sorry for being a bit long.
Thank you very much, Gael. Now we come to theme 4 that will be presented by Federica and Connor.
So yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining today. So Fritzi and I are going to just run briefly over a very top-down overview of the current state of the working groups that we have for theme 4. Some of these slides are quite busy, so feel free to screenshot, take photos, or look at the recordings later for some more information. Next slide, please. So yeah, within theme 4, we have 7 approved working groups so far, and we're aware of 2 more that are under development. And in this little presentation today, we're going to run through some of the progress made by the 5 highlighted working groups. Next slide, please. So the first one is EcoScent, which has a focus towards using higher predators as ecosystem sentinels. And the goal of this working group is really to create an energyscape that can support ecosystem monitoring, climate change vulnerability assessments, and krill fishery management around Antarctica. The SOPs for this group are very much still under development, but are focused on morphometric and diet protocols, protocols around the collection and analysis of the tracking data, and then how these data are then harmonized together and interpreted. Next slide, please. Yeah, so during the fieldwork components for this working group, there's a focus on collecting tracking data and oceanographic tracking data alongside morphometric and behavioral observations. The fieldwork efforts for this working group are very much circumpolar, but some of the species, particularly the penguin species, are focused on the Antarctic Peninsula. Next slide. This is probably the one of the slides you might want to take a photo of. I won't run through all, but this table basically summarizes all of the fieldwork, all of the proposed fieldwork activities for EcoScent, and alongside the responsible parties and the geographic regions that they'll all be working in, along with a sort of a proposed prep time and lead time for these activities. Next slide, please. So moving on to the second working group, which is Predict. This working group has a focus really on investigating the krill and krill fishery and ecosystems interactions in and around the Antarctic Peninsula, addressing 2 main research questions to assess the spatial temporal overlap and the functional responses of the ecosystem to fisheries activity, and then the behavioral interactions of predators with the fishery. Again, SOPs are under development, but will be focused around coordinating multiple platform efforts, standardizing methodological approaches for each predator group, how different predator and prey data are harmonized together, and how different platforms can combine acoustic data collected in different ways. This working group is very much linked with the previous one with EcoScent. Next slide, please. Yes, so this slide again shows the approximate timings and vessels and activities of the fieldwork for Predict. And again, yeah, mainly focused around the Antarctic Peninsula. Next slide, please. So this is an addition from yesterday's webinar. So this working group is called MISO, which is focused on the microbial ecogenomics. And this working group, really what underpins it is that marine microbes are the first responders to environmental change in the Southern Ocean. These microbes host unique genetic diversity, but their genetic mechanisms and their fitness remain poorly understood, particularly during the winter. They have a real key role in biogeochemical cycles, and the overarching aim of this working group is to create a resolved atlas of microbial genomics around the Southern Ocean. Key work at the moment is going towards generating standard operating procedures, focusing on omics techniques in seawater, sea ice, and sediment sampling, alongside the standardization of wet lab procedures and bioinformatic workflows that vary depending on vessel capabilities. Next slide, please. I believe the current trajectory that the SOPs are taking are similar to a sort of Tara Oceans or an ACE program style approach to collect microbial genetic material across various plankton and microbiome sizes. and the main effort here is to standardize the omics approaches. Thank you. Next slide.
Try to come to an end, Connor.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, then I will go quickly through all the seafloor working groups we have. So we have one working group here, which is SOBATS, the Southern Ocean Benthic Ecosystem Dynamics and Services, which tries to investigate or coordinate the circumpolar monitoring of the Southern Ocean and the benthic biodiversity on different scales and also different habitats from coastal, slope and deep sea via different methods and also approaches covering the biodiversity aspects, but also the ecosystem processes and services. And it's linked to different SCAR research programs and also connected to WOBEC. And there will be a workshop at the SCAR conference for this working group on benthic essential variables. And also, I think there is a workshop from WOBEC at SCAR, so I think it's worth to check out the schedule and webpage on that. The next slide, please.
Betsy, you need to come to an end.
I know. I just want to mention like the two more working groups we have. So if you could skip to go to the next slide and the next slide, please. Oh no! Oh, sorry, I didn't. My internet is slow. So can you go back? Sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah. So there's also the deep benthic working group, which is not released yet on the webpage, but it will be there soon, I think, which is focusing on deep sea, which is and mapping the deep sea benthic biodiversity. And then on the next slide, we see the benthic or the eDNA omics working group, which is working circumpolar on eDNA sampling from the coast also to the deep sea. And on the next slide, we see the leads for this working group. So yeah, that was just a rough overview from the theme 4.
Thank you very much, Connor and Fritzi. I'm sorry to hurry here. Now we come to theme 5, and Se-Young will present theme 5.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jun Xie from Hamilton Heron. Today, I would like to give a presentation for Team 5. First, I would like to announce that Nicolette, Susan, and me are the scientific coordinator for Team 5. For you, if you are interested in this team, and also for any detailed plan, please contact us. Please, next. As you know, this Team 5 is a diversity, very diverse topic, including that chemical pollution and water noise, and assessment fish and career impact, and also the effect of marine pollution, especially for phytoplankton and climate feedback, and also the biosecurity and invasive species prevention. And please go to next. Based on the research program from Germany, we have tested different sampling procedures for different environment compartments, and based on for example German Neumarkt station and also Polish sanctuaries, and these experiences will also transfer to other research vessel and bases. So we are going to make develop a kind of circumpolar monitor nets during this InSync program. Please next. Next, please. Yeah. Especially for the based on the our German program, we have developed a kind of CAP InSync initiative for especially for penguin eggs. Next, please. And with this, we will sampling penguin eggs from different regions of Antarctic, and use standardized sampling and also a kind of harmonized analytical procedures. finally, we will also make a kind of open data database and share this data with scientists and public and stakeholders. Please next. And the Australia colleague already organizing a cruise in August, September 2028, and they will use this research vessel to study different environmental components as well. For example, air sampling, seawater, sediment, and biota. And Klaus will give a more detailed introduction during this meeting. Next, please. And also use under V-ship-based sampling, they will collect also seawater samples from Australia to Antarctica and to investigate the PFAS input to Antarctica. Next, please. And the German colleague already have organized a kind of monitor nights for underwater noise, and during this InSync program, more investigation will be conducted, and so please, if you have any interest on this, please also join this group as well. Please next. And actually, in December 2025, the German colleagues used the Marseille Explorer to collect the environmental samples from Danger Island. They will use these samples to make a kind of preliminary test for eDNA and also other proposals. Thank you. This is from, I think that's from the team of 5. And for more plans and also detailed plans, we are going to discuss during the SCA Open Science meeting in Oslo and also in November during the first CATI meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Se-Young, for your presentation. And now we come to theme 6, which is presented by Marcus.
Yeah, hi everyone. Jump in the first slide here. Yeah, thank you. I'm presenting on behalf of the Theme 6 leadership team and actually on behalf of the entire Theme 6 community. Thanks to all the contributions. Next slide. It's just a recap from our white paper here, a cartoon of the coupled atmosphere ocean ice climate system. And the elements we are addressing within our theme revolve around aerosol, as the name says, clouds, precip, but also radiation. So radiative fluxes between surface and atmosphere. We are addressing those elements using a range of platforms, of course, existing Antarctic stations, but then also vessels, airborne platforms, research aircraft, but also autonomous platforms such as drones or tethered balloons and sea ice buoys, and then going all the way into space using satellite data. And ultimately, we really want to get a better understanding of the surface mass balance, the surface energy balance, both important, driven by atmospheric drivers and relevant to ongoing change, in particular, for instance, also the sea ice retreat, sea ice evolution, and current dramatic Antarctic sea ice loss. Next slide. So the knowledge gaps we are addressing are really around aerosol sources, properties, and processes. We want to characterize the cloud and precip properties, understand, as I said, the surface energy budget, the structure of the lower atmosphere, the boundary layer, constrain the coupling between clouds and atmospheric circulation, and eventually also advance really the capability of our models to model clouds and aerosols above the Southern Ocean and Antarctic regions, because the big climate models have large uncertainties and a strong bias in all these parameters. Next slide. To address these knowledge gaps, we need year-round synchronized observations to capture this temporal and spatial variability in key processes. We will continue observations of long-term trends, which have been going on for decades at Antarctic land-based stations, build on the national efforts, logistics-wide and scientific-wide, and share our capabilities across platforms, share data, samples, and satellite retrievals, and as well the model products. Next slide. So to reduce really our climate forecast uncertainties, we started developing a strategy, and details are in the white paper. We developed a list of essential variables supported by modeling and grouped them by priority from 1 to 3. Priority 1 is more basic observations year-round from all locations across a pan-Antarctic network. Priority 2 are more involved measurements, more expensive, which will be probably done only during intensive observation periods. And the focus is really on vertical profiles. A big data gap is really linking surface observations with levels in the atmosphere where actually clouds form. Priority 3 are dedicated super sites during expeditions, cruises, and flights. Next slide. So in the paper, we have a detailed list of these variables. I give here just 2 examples. Aerosol, for instance, priority 1, basic observations of concentration and size. When you have more sophisticated instrumentation, you look more at fine aerosol or the cloud forming characteristics of those aerosols. And even more involved, probably only possible during intensive campaigns, is observation of fluxes, for instance, at the ocean ice atmosphere interface. Next slide. Another example would be clouds. Of course, remote sensing data you get year-round from satellites, but then more involved, maybe land-based stations, or priority 3, even more involved would be like aircraft campaigns or like drone or balloon-based observations. And all of those address really our knowledge gaps in this area. Next slide. So using these variables, we will also adhere to existing standard operating procedures and protocols and develop new ones as needed. We started collecting projects which have been funded or are being in planning. Here, what we see here already, interesting work coming out of Troll. So it's a Norwegian-led project with American and British contributions. Here the third down the road is here a Swiss Polar Institute flagship project, Domino, which looks at changes in the air snow ice open interactions. And they're working out of Neumayer, Queen Elizabeth, and Troll Station, for instance. Prescient is a national capability project funded through 2029 in the UK, working out of Rothera, and it's funding a year-round aerosol and cloud observatory. But there's also a growing list of submitted projects, and this is, of course, by no means complete here, and we're collecting more and more. Next slide. One is like looking at the links between microbes and clouds out of Palmer Station, led by a US team. And then a range of projects actually doing work on Polar Stern, which will be south for the whole of 2028, looking especially at winter processes at the sea ice atmosphere interface. Next slide. So we started building a map, as you see on the next slide here. Of course, a heavy geographical bias. Currently only funded or planned projects here in Drowning Maudlin, Weddell Sea, and the Antarctic Peninsula Station are the symbols, and then in yellow letters, ships we're aware of operating in the area. Of course, Polarstern, the SDA from the UK, but then also the Swedish icebreaker, the Odin, will be around, and we hope to populate this a lot more and enhance through Theme 6 the collaboration and also open up for collaboration opportunities if people need an instrument or and share also the SOPs, of course. Next slide. Working group-wise, we have not currently only one proposed Theme 6 working group around using atmospheric parameters derived from satellites. And then the one approved one is, of course, the Antarctic Coastal Hotspots group, which has a focus on carbon, but obviously ocean-atmosphere interactions are also of importance for Theme 6. And then there are the cross-cutting groups, Earth observation and Earth system modeling, which are relevant to us. But we are building more and hoping there's some more being proposed. Next slide. Yeah, upcoming events, you have SCAR and then the November workshop in Frascati. We are meeting quarterly, so please join our mailing list and join in this discussion. The next time we'll meet in September. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Our next speaker is Irina. who will present theme 7.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Yeah, if you can go to the first slide, please. So we now came to the last theme, the theme 7, which is logically goes in the end after all the process-focused themes, because here we focus on the variability extremes and tipping in a changing Antarctic climate. And I'll present briefly the outcomes of the white paper and the also connection to the SOPs here on behalf of our coordinating team, Matthew, myself, Louise, and Martin, and the whole, the lead authors, and we have a lot of contributing authors. So thank you very much to everyone contributing to this. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So while other themes that have been presented each focus on a specific, interaction of specific processes. So here we go even more interdisciplinary, and we cover a lot of different processes with the goal of putting them and the observations that will be conducted during the Antarctica InSync in a longer-term climatic perspective. So we would like to focus here on the climate variability, extreme events, and rapid climatic changes, including tipping points. And these processes and these time and spatial scales, they range from specific events, which can be storms, atmospheric rivers, heat waves in the atmosphere, or marine heat waves, major surface melt event, to multi-decadal or even longer term observations. So this is the challenge of the theme, and during the Antarctica InSync. So what we identified in the white paper, that there is a wide array of tools that have to be used. And please go to the next slide. And while we cover a lot of interdisciplinary topics, which are addressed in more detail in specific themes. So here we look we identified 4 specific areas of focus, which again best highlights this across timescales and across spatial scales variability and interaction, extreme events, and tipping points. So one focus group is the snow, firn, and surface mass balance, including ice shelf interactions with the ocean and atmosphere, then atmosphere and the water cycle, ocean sea ice atmosphere coupling, and variability and warming detection. So next slide, please. So it's not, it was a bit of a challenge also for us to understand like how can we show this actually, and this was an attempt to demonstrate together the long-term climate variability, here expressed as one of the key parameters of the moisture cycle and the moisture transport annual trend, and overlaid on this we identified various extreme events which concern not only hydrological cycle, not only weather. So here you can see the list: snowfall, rainfall, warm, mild wind extremes, but also ice shelf breakup or collapse and rapid sea ice loss. So you can see while the moisture transport variability is really regional and very, we have different regions of actions, let's say, on the long-term climate trend, but then you have this the number of extreme events happening on different timescales. So this is what we would like to focus and in the community efforts during the Antarctica InSync. So next slide, please. And again, so during the white paper, while focusing on the specific focus topics, we identified major knowledge gaps, but I will not go in details here. And next slide. And what we have done, and here what is the most relevant now for the implementation and the standard operating procedures, is the way that we prioritized the parameters, the key variables that we would like to have more coordination by the community as part of the Antarctica InSync. So here, unlike what has been mentioned in previous themes, for example, in theme 6, that was the graded by priorities. So here we identified the key variables based on the timescales. So first column is the short timescales, and the second column, well, actually, is the long-term scales, and the zero column is the different system domains. And you can see these differences just, for example, when we measure snowfall rates in the modern climate with the modern, in the nowadays observations, when we look at the ice cores and the shallow ice cores, it's translated into thickness and density of the annual layers. If you look at the rainfall and melt events in the ice cores, again, this is the ice lenses and crust. So this is really the key thing also, to try to identify this, the mechanisms and the way how we can actually operate and measure. And again, so this is the challenge, to have the standard operating procedures that, well, we are in the process of establishing now. And next slide, please. And so the implementation is mostly done via the working group. So this is actually, sorry, it's the old slide, and I came up later with an updated slide, which I provided a bit late, but it will be in the put online. But here, so the list, you can see there are a number of working groups which are not only related to our theme, but they are across themes, and this is again the focus of our theme. And there are a lot of working groups by which the implementation will be done. So here I just will name several. So the past, present, and future surface mass balance of the Antarctic ice sheet, so that was already discussed in theme 3. The ice shelf-ocean interactions, hotspots of atmosphere ice-ocean interaction, coastal connections and hydrographic drivers of Antarctic biogeochemistry and carbon cycling, atmospheric monitoring in the northern Antarctic Peninsula. Then there is another group that has been proposed and already starting on the modern day observations of stable water isotopes. And there is a new group that is being currently proposed, is on the Antarctic extreme event impacts on the cryosphere. And I would like to mention several connecting the implementation procedures that, connections that are relevant to this group that I couldn't include in the updated slide. But basically in the supporting the implementation discussion, showing where the standardized measurements and protocols would provide the greatest added value. So that was in the outcome of the working group kickoff meeting. So we saw strong opportunities for the InSync in coordinating simultaneous observations across regions while integrating them in multi-scale modeling. So as opposed to treating the projects as independent activities. So I identified several regions, including, the Pan-Antarctic, and then specific regions such as Antarctic Peninsula, West Antarctic and Amundsen Sea, Ross Sea, Dronning Maudland, and Southern Ocean continental shelf. And there
Please
were the...
come to an end, Irina.
Okay, of course, yes. And main topics and methods identified per each region. So I will not go in details now, running out of time, but you will see a slide on this in the updated presentation. So next slide, please. Which is the last slide. So please reach out to us for also joining the group and join the mailing list. And we will try to schedule as soon as possible the post-white paper finishing discussion to, basically discuss the implementation and the connection with different working groups and themes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Irina. Now we come to, there is still something. Now we come to Earth observation, and that is presented by Martin.
Hey, thank you, Colin. Thank you, everyone. Yes, I'm speaking on behalf of the Earth Observation Cost-Cutting Group. We have been slowly evolving from the white paper discussions, and I'm going to give an update largely focused on that, but also with some upcoming announcements as well. So next slide, please. So thanks to the community for adding their comments and feedback to the white paper. It's really helped to fill in some of the areas around the white paper. And the structure largely remains the same, but there's some added details that we were missing previously. So our top priority remains to be the improvement of satellite Earth observations for Antarctica and Southern Ocean. A new element is the focus on regions that are hard to observe with the satellite, so particularly like the marginal ice zone and areas sort of beneath the surface. So that's something that will continue to be considered. Next slide, please. As we're hearing more and more about the ongoing plans for fieldwork, that's particularly exciting for the Earth Observation Group. We can sort of start to look at that synergy between Earth observation and in situ, particularly with Earth observation helping to inform these targeted in situ activities, particularly at super sites. We've heard mention of those from many of the science teams. There are particular observations we'd like to collect in terms of CalVal for EO. And we have a table of requests for in situ observations in the white paper, and that will form the basis for the standard operating procedures as well as we move forward. Next slide, please. We've seen some progress in some of the areas that we identified as priority areas. So in terms of coordination between between space agencies, we've seen the starting up of the WMO task team on cryosphere and polar observations from space. They've had their first meetings, and they include multiple representatives from the EO working group, which is great to see. But our working group still needs to increase its international representation. So in this webinar is a great opportunity to encourage additional people who are interested in the EO aspects to join the group to broaden those discussions, not just internationally, but also across the science themes, particularly kind of themes 4, 5, and 6. We're kind of lacking EO representation in our group, so please do get in touch. As we look towards the other cross-cutting groups as well, particularly with the modeling cross-cutting group, we need to start to initiate discussions there to make sure we're going to maximize the opportunity. We've heard mention of the data management cross-cutting group starting up their activities, and EO data obviously it's a large volume of that, and we'd ideally like to be part of that discussion to ensure that EO data is managed in a similar way to the in situ data, so those two products can talk to each other. Next slide, please. And we've heard mention of lots of the working groups that are being established. On the EO front, we've identified a number of EO focused research priorities, and we're now at the stage where we're trying to decide whether those should be pushed forward to creating specific working groups with an EO focus. So stay tuned for that. We're still trying to decide whether it's best to take them with this EO focus or more with the science process focus. Next slide, please. And we have a few upcoming activities to be aware of. At the SCAR Open Science Conference, we have a workshop connecting Earth observations within the Antarctica InSync expeditions. So particularly that has participation from the Pulse of the Weddell campaign. And we're really looking in that workshop to highlight how Earth observation data can be used for the benefit of Antarctica InSync campaigns. From an ESA perspective, so from my side, we have a funding call coming out towards the end of the year. This will target EO-based projects for Antarctica InSync. All the science teams will be eligible for that funding, and there will be a sort of focus driven by the content of the white papers that we've heard about, and it's great to see that science plan coming out and being finalized. Across all those projects, there will be a common focus on linking EO capabilities with campaigns. So it's great to see that these campaigns are starting to take shape. Last slide, please, Carly.
Please come to an end.
Yes, the final slide is here. Just a note to say you can join the mailing list. There's a QR code to scan there. I don't think it's on the website still yet, but we're more than open, and it's designed to be an open group. So please do join. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex. Martin. Now we come to Axel, who is presenting APEX.
Next slide, please. Thanks. I'm with the Association of Polar Early Career Scientists, so APEX, but I'm presenting on behalf of the Antarctica InSync Early Career Coordination Group, which is currently in the process of formally being established. So thanks a lot for still providing the opportunity to already present today. The main objectives of this group is to strengthen early career leadership and participation across the Antarctica InSync governance activities and all processes. So including all the working groups and themes and projects on a national level too. We want to build an inclusive and interdisciplinary early career community and foster that within the InSync framework to enable broader participation with the aim in a long-term perspective to support capacity building and strengthen the polar research community by using Antarctica InSync as a framework to train and develop early career researchers into professionals. Next slide, please. And we are often being asked of how you can support these efforts. So if you're an early career researcher yourself, we would very much encourage join our group activities, and I'll speak more about how you can do that later. And we do have room for you to join the leadership of this group, but also just to participate and follow our activities. If you are a senior researcher, we encourage you to implement early career co-leadership in your activities that you have control over. And the same goes for Antarctica InSync national committees, where we encourage the national committees to include an early career representative, either found through the Association of Polar Early Career Scientists or separately in your group's discussion. And the same goes for themes or working groups, which are brilliant chances for early career researchers to get more involved and contribute actively to the InSync initiative. And we suggest that you actively try to create opportunities and entry avenues for early career researchers to join those. Next slide, please. We will host a separate online event for everyone that is interested in more details about the activities of this early career group at the end of July and in preparation of the SCAR Open Science Conference. And we will also use these online events to provide a general introduction and overview about Antarctica InSync initiatives. So these are really made for everyone that wants to get involved with InSync, but doesn't have the full overview yet. So we'll both spend some time on providing general information, but then also have the chance to more specifically network with others, both early career and more senior people on 28th and 29th of July. Next slide. We will also be hosting events and sessions at the SCAR Open Science Conference in Oslo and invite you to join those. One is a networking gathering for early career individuals specifically on the 11th of August, and we will have a session on using the outcomes of various priority processes that we have been running to identify priorities from the early career perspective and how we can feed those into the InSync framework. And we will discuss that on our session on 13th of August. Next slide, please.
Please come to an end.
And if you're interested in either joining the leadership of this group or want to share any information or opportunities with us, then please contact us, and more specifically the APEX International Directorate, who is currently supporting this group administratively at info@apex.is. And if you know anyone who this information might be interesting to, please feel free to share it. And thanks again.
Thank you very much, Axel. Now, Alexander Harman will tell us a little bit more about the status of the campaign planning.
Thanks very much, Caroline. Before I start the second block of the webinar, I just wanted to thank all the speakers from the first block. It's really fantastic to see all this the breadth of all the activities that are ongoing within Antarctica InSync, and it's truly amazing that all of this is coming together and that there are so many efforts in the different working groups, in the themes, in cross-cutting themes, and also in the early career activities. So now in the second block, we want to really make a first attempt to do some of this matchmaking between you and the infrastructures. So Colleen, if you can go please to the next slide. The plan is really that we will today present a few campaigns, a few expeditions, a few infrastructures that where there is already plans developing, where maybe some things are already further along, already committed. These are not all the current plans, so we cannot cover all of them today in this webinar, but we will here show some example activities that are happening and maybe contact persons that you can contact to get involved with those activities. So yes, we are planning to collect all of those, and even those that we do not present today and that do not provide information today should be made available afterwards on the website if you do submit the forms. So that is also a call that you please submit your updates, that we can also share this later. A more detailed discussion on all this infrastructure, on the alignment of the infrastructure with the science is envisioned for the implementation workshop in Frascati, but also through online tools that we always provide if you cannot attend that meeting. Of course, as you know, we will have national infrastructures. This includes research vessels, it includes airplanes, it includes stations, but we also have additional partners. We have foundations, we have private partners, we have sailing vessels, different ships that are available, different opportunities also through IATO with other vessels that are available and that you can use as well within the Antarctica InSync framework. There will be also another dedicated infrastructure access call through the EU project Polarin later this year. And there is also private foundations that will support infrastructure access, including the support of ECRs. Of course, this coordination is all a challenge. So this is why we need your help to help us coordinate this. We need you to actively provide us this information. We also need help with tools. So this is why we also started further developing a tool that's from Due South and Poladex that we will now have a closer look at how you can use it and how you can actually already now implement your information. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Alex. And with this, we will come to Petra, who will present Due South and South.
Thank you. I will give you a very brief overview of Due South on behalf of the Southern Ocean Observing System that has a coordination center in Tasmania, and they have middle of the night. So I will present on their behalf. Some of you might know that Due South is a logistic tool that is hosted by Poladex, which contains both Arctic and Antarctic logistic information. Next slide, please. So it has information on marine voyages, but it also contains information about field stations or aircraft flight paths, for example. You can view data with using a map or a table, and then you can filter through the information on the platform using faceted search such as country, dates, or region. Due South was developed by the European Polar Board, but the content is managed by the SUS data officer. One important thing to mention is that Due South is a forward-looking tool, which means that it provides as much as possible accurate information prior to voyages, but not necessarily up-to-date information post-voyages. A reason for that is that the pre- and post-voyage data streams are often separated from each other, and there is also not enough capacity currently to keep information up-to-date backwards. Next slide, please. So this is an example of a voyage and with the ship details. If you click on a map on any route, then you can see in the corner small box, and if you expand that, you will see details of that specific voyage on that route. And if you go to that page of that voyage, at the end of it, you can see details of the ship that has sailed on that voyage, and you can see the capability of that ship. Routes and voyages can be submitted by anyone to Due South. You can just simply create an account and submit that information. Due South relies very much on community information. So please, if you have that, do consider to contribute. However, if you want to change capabilities of the vessel or field station information, you will need to contact the data officer because that needs admin privileges. Next slide, please.
Please come to an end.
Yes, so Due South has various sources of information. They come via, for example, IATO, via COMNAP, or via CAMELAR. But most important, as I said, is the information that is provided by the community. Next slide, please. So if you have information about the voyages in your country or institution, please get in touch and or inform directly the data officer. And if you can go to the last slide, please. This gives you information about how InSync is connected to the Due South, and we are improving the system currently to introduce new capabilities to make sure that it is tailored to the needs of Antarctica InSync. And the last slide gives you contact details where you can contact the SUS data officer if you have information that could be introduced into Due South. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Petra. Now we come to the next speaker, who is Sebastian.
Okay, super. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll try to go within the 3 minutes. So we will have 2 cruises with the icebreaker, the Norwegian icebreaker, Kronprins Haakon, to the Southern Ocean in January, February, and March 2027. So already next year. So it's sort of a premise to InSync and the Norwegian contribution to InSync. The first leg will be a 50-day voyage with a major focus on the coastal zone of the Kong Haakon, the 7th Sea. And it has several objectives. The first objective of this cruise is to collect knowledge for Norway's Weddell Sea Marine Protected Area proposal. And for that in particular, we will focus on coastal habitats and especially benthic ecosystem and zooplankton remote sensing in the prospect of future monitoring. The second objective of this cruise will be the iCrime project, which wants to look at cryosphere ocean interactions at the coast of joining Maudland and understand what role they play on ocean physics, ocean biogeochemistry and biology, and therefore on marine ecosystems. So for that particular project, we will really work along the ice shelf front, mapping the physical and biogeochemical environment, including trace metals like iron. The third objective of this cruise will be related to the Center of Excellence IC3 at the University of Tromsø. And the goal is also related to cryosphere-ocean interaction and will be to understand benthic carbon dynamics in the vicinity of ice sheets, as well as seafloor and water column mapping for exploring methane, seepage, and gravity coring for paleoceanography. And finally, the fourth objective, it's quite many objectives, but the fourth objective will be a regional process study focusing on the Trolltunga, which is the ice tongue. You can't really see it on this map, you just see it a little bit. The west of the area, it's a tongue, a glacier tongue that protrudes over the continental shelf break and that disturbs the Antarctic slope front. So the different work packages in this cruise are led by different partners in Norway. And we have also strong international collaboration and participation. The cruise planning is quite well advanced, so it may be difficult for you to join the voyage at this stage, but we are very happy to connect and look for synergies and explore possible collaboration. Also, thinking that we go there every year with our resupply boats. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the second cruise, the second leg, which will be a 24-day voyage with a focus on
Please
Bouvet
come
Island.
to an end, Sebastian.
Sorry?
Please come to an end.
Okay, I'll just talk briefly about the second cruise, which will go to Bouvet Island. It's a project called Bouvetco that got recently funded, and the idea is to disentangle the land, coast, ocean connections around Bouvet Island, will focus on the ocean physics, including Lagrange analysis, primary production, zooplankton, top predators, benthic ecosystems, and sediment geochemistry. And our areas of interest are hydrothermal vents, seamounts, and fracture zone around Bouvet, as well as land-ocean interactions, sediment, glacier melting, frontal zone, and submesoscale filament all around the Bouvet Island. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now we come to Tom, who will talk about Plateau InSync.
Yes, hello everybody. It's a great pleasure to present you one of the land initiatives of Antarctica InSync. It's Plateau InSync, an expedition in 2028, 2029 to cross the Antarctic plateau. So starting from Neumayer and going then to the Italian and Korean station. This is a project co-led by AVI and the Swiss Polar Institute with contributions from France, Switzerland, Italy, and Korea. It's working because we will rely on light logistics. You see the trucks here above, so we'll use 3 Arctic trucks and use these for the science. So scientifically, it's mainly about the question of what is happening on the ice sheet in the moment. So to put like a two-century context and actual and modern observations on the heat waves which are coming in, the warming which is coming in, the accumulation changes which are coming in. So from the science, we do like shallow paleo climate science, so last centuries. We do things related to sea level and surf mass balance. So basically in the past from ice cores with radar in space and then setting up stations which are then going into the IPY recording the accumulation, how it's continuing. And the other part is on satellite calibration and validation. So looking at microstructure accumulation and so on to be able to improve the satellite products. In addition, this also provides other measurements which in this unexplored area, for example, looking at geomagnetism and yes, and these kind of things. Good. So how it is linked here, it's mainly linked to the theme 7 and theme 3 and also with the surf mass balance working group, we are in close contact. And there are many opportunities to get involved. So while the core program is relatively firm because the space is limited, there are still possibilities to join, for example, with your instruments. It's also possible people come together and we find additional funding to have a 4th truck, which would then open new opportunities for new science on the way. It's also possible to replicate the measurement program in your own sector. That's something we're discussing with Australia in the moment. Then in the next season, so end of 2029, the trucks have to go back from the Italian station to South Pole or FD83, so go back the half of the way. So it's possible to use the trucks on this way. And so, yes, please come in contact. We would really welcome to connect and to see how we can work together. The contact is given here below. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Now we will come to the next presentation about Polarstern. And Alex, it's your word.
Thanks. Can you go to the next slide, please? So we are extremely excited to have Polarstern committed to the Southern Ocean for more than a year. So during Antarctica InSync, the expeditions will start in December 27 and run through to February 29. The overall objective that has been developed within the German National Committee for Antarctica InSync for the vessel is to really capture year-round the Atlantic sector, so the Weddell Sea, and understand the seasonal evolution within this sector and also understand the ice-ocean atmosphere ecosystem interactions in this region in more detail. As you can see here, there is 5 different legs following each other. Leg 1 will be mostly going along the prime meridian and then over to the Antarctic Peninsula. Leg 2 will be in more of a coastal expedition in the central region of the Weddell Sea. Then leg 3 will go to the far eastern side where we have the inflow of circumpolar deep water and the inflow of the gyre. Leg 4 will then really go into the marginal ice zone south of South Georgia, and leg 5 will then go to the northwestern Weddell Sea. As you can see here also marked in red red or orange is the option to have repeat transects of the prime meridian, so we can really take full advantage of this to capture the seasonal cycle along the prime meridian. We are currently in the good position that the first 3 expedition proposals for the first 3 legs have been accepted, and the legs 4 and 5 have just been submitted for review. And we also have one more leg that will be a pre-start, that is the Kribis expedition led by Bettina Meyer, that will already start in February, March 27. For these core 5 legs, we have also developed a core program, core science program that will be carried out equally on all legs, in line with the 7 themes developed for Antarctica InSync that will measure the key variables on these expeditions. If you want to know more, or if you need contacts, please contact also the cruise leaders, and also the overall coordination is done by Steffi Arndt. And with this, thank you very much, and I pass on to the next speaker.
Thank you very much, Alex. The next speaker is Anna.
Hello. Sweden has 2 expeditions planned in the InSync, and contact for both is Åsa Lindgren at the Polar Research Secretariat. The first expedition is called Pulse of the Weddell Sea, and if you follow these links here, you can read more about them both. The second one is called IQ 2300 and has a focus on sea level rise. Next slide, please. So this is the Pulse of the Weddell Sea. The basic question is the functioning and significance of the Weddell Sea on climate and ecosystems. And the cruise leader is Sebastian Swart at the University of Gothenburg. Next slide, please. So this expedition will be with Agulhas 2, and it will be in November 2027, departing from and to Cape Town, also in the Atlantic sector, with focus on the marginal sea and some other aspects. Next slide, please. And the IQ 2300 will be slightly further east. And there is quite a large terrestre and glaciology component in addition to this. And I am cruise leader for that one. Next slide, please. So the IQ 2300 also has a season on the ice with hot water drilling, and during the expedition we will have the new AUV going in underneath the ice shelves there, and we have already started to prepare with moorings, and there are weather stations on the ice, and during the hot water drilling season we will have moorings through the ice, and also a small ROV that takes photographs. Next slide, please. Yeah, and obviously all the ship CTD and ship ADCP and so on. And then after the on ice season, which is in 2029, there will also be a second cruise that is slightly shorter in 2030, going at least with the AUV RAN 2, and to look at changes in the ice base during those 2 years. And then, yeah, as you know, Sweden, the Swedish icebreaker Oden is not allowed to go to Antarctica anymore. So we have for both these, Agulhas is used for the Pulse of the Weddell Sea, and the Nosfera, the Ukrainian vessel, for the second one. And we think it will be really neat when we see the Swedish and Ukrainian flags together on that vessel. Okay, and that was it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Now we come to Gabriela, speaker.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me well? Yes?
Yes.
Perfect. Then on behalf of the Instituto Antártico Argentino, I will briefly introduce the opportunities that Argentina can offer to support Antarctica InSync implementation. As mentioned, one logistical asset is the icebreaker Almirante Irizar, which operates every austral summer in the Antarctic Peninsula. This vessel is mainly a logistic vessel, but has also more than 400 square meters of laboratory space and can host up to 2 international scientists participating in Antarctica InSync activities. Here the map shows the operational area covered by the icebreaker during these campaigns. Next, please. It's an animation. Yes. Argentina also has an extensive network of Antarctic stations, including 7 permanent stations, which are in red, and 6 seasonal stations in green, together with summer camps and shelters mainly via Marambio station. Next, please. Yeah, here you can see marked the permanent stations, and depending on the station, monitoring activities are maintained by overwintering scientists and or technicians that provide year-round observations on meteorological, oceanographic, biological, space weather, ozone variables, among others, plus the spring-summer expeditions. For instance, Carlini Station offers laboratories, boats, and diving facilities, and it will host up to 2 international researchers within Antarctica InSync initiatives. Next, please. Yeah, well, we see Antarctica InSync as an excellent opportunity to strengthen international collaboration. So we encourage international researchers to collaborate with local scientists and then access to established monitoring sites and integrate their work into existing field campaigns or projects. Argentina can also provide logistical support for coordinated sampling and instrument deployment through the National Antarctic Program. Several Antarctine researchers are already contributing to Antarctica InSync activities, and here you can see the working groups where they are involved. And so if you're interested in establishing further collaboration, please contact the coordinator of the scientific area within the national committee that best matches your research topic. Here you can see the link to their contacts, and copy Dr. Carla Difonso and me. We will be happy to connect you with the appropriate research group of your interest. And that's by me.
Thank you very much, Gabriela.
You're welcome.
Now,
thank you.
Alex, would you briefly mention the RV Nuina?
Yes, if you can quickly go to the next slide. I just briefly wanted to say, as it is in the middle of the night in Australia and the colleagues could not join today, that the RV Nuina is planning a marginal ice zone expedition in East Antarctica. That is a 60-day voyage in August to September. It will nicely also complement other marginal ice zone studies that we just have heard about, also some of the wintertime expeditions. And this expedition also, as the other ones, has a multidisciplinary focus, studying the coupled ice-ocean atmosphere system, also biogeochemical aspects of the system, also studying the ecosystem processes. There's also opportunities for buoy and float deployments. There will be several ice stations that happen and also work on the shelf. There are several work packages, several groups involved in this expedition. The availability of berths is not yet fully clear. It's limited, certainly, but if you have an interest in collaborating, please contact Klaus Meiners, and yes, and then he can provide more information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Pier Paolo.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so very brief, very shortly, I will show you the activity for the next 3 years that the Laura Bassi will carry out mainly in the Ross Sea. I haven't so much details so far because we haven't yet a new project approved, but very soon a new call from the Italian program for Antarctic research will be launched. and there will be 3 years of project. And as you can read in the slide, the themes, the topics of the call will be aligned with many of the InSync themes that we just heard about today. So typically the oceanographic crew is on board Laura Bassi are multidisciplinary, from marine geophysics, geology to physical oceanography, biology, marine biology and chemistry. So there will be chances for many researchers to collaborate on different topics, in different fields. Traditionally, Italian crews have hosted international scientists, so we are very keen to have colleagues from other countries on board and to strengthen collaboration with all the InSync community. So if you want to be on board, please contact Professor Giorgio Budilon, who is the Vice President of the Italian National Program for Antarctic Research. This committee is the leader of will decide which kind of activity can be carried on board, as well as they will approve the new project. So I think it is important to have contact with them, with all the scientific committees, of course, but of course, please write to Giorgio for more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pierpaolo. Our next speaker is Alessandro.
Hi everybody, my name is Alessandro, University of Liverpool. I'm here on behalf of the Tara Ocean Foundation to alert you to the fact that the schooner Tara is planning to take part in the Antarctica InSync activities. We're planning a 2-year Austral summer campaign focused on 2029-2030. You can see a preliminary kind of plan of the expedition there, originating in Ushuaia and following the kind of coastal current around Antarctica, anti-clockwise. The focus will be on the Antarctic continental shelf, trying to understand the role of environmental factors in driving the biodiversity, biogeochemical carbon cycle function through the microbiome. Tara, if you don't know, you can see a picture of the vessel there during the last expedition in Antarctica. She's able to deliver a whole range of oceanographic, biogeochemical, photophysiological imaging and genomics measurements. So we profit a lot from the underway systems on Tara, but we also have an A-frame for deploying the rosette, pumps, all kinds of equipment over the side. We're very much open to collaborate around supporting fieldwork needs of others. In particular, I'm quite interested in thinking about how we can engage with Antarctic bases. So if people, working on those bases around the continent and are interested in collaborating, that would be really good. We have a planning consortium of around 16 of us across 6 nations. We're engaged in 3 of the working groups that were mentioned previously, probably most prominently in the protocols for genomic sampling. We're open to more collaborations. If you'd like to know more, I'm the voyage lead, so that's Alessandro Telliber, University of Liverpool, and you can also contact Romain Troublé, the lead from the foundation. So I think in the interest of time, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to quickly remind you that this webinar will be recorded and will be uploaded on the website, as well as all the presentations that will be uploaded as well to our website at the very end. And now we come to Miguel.
Hello, everyone. I will just make a brief update of what Spain will be able to provide within the Antarctica InSync project framework. Next, please. So we run 2 Antarctic stations on the South Shetland Islands. One is Gabriel Castilla on Deception Island. Unfortunately, because there are less capacity for accommodating researchers, we will not be able to offer in-person access, but we will be able to provide remote access for that station. So anyone who need to take some special samples or taking some data can access to us and us to do by us for you. Juan Carlos I Station in Livingston Island is a quite modern rebuilding station with a high capacity. We can accommodate 51 researchers on the station. Both stations are operated in only summer stations, so they are operating from December to end of March. And in Juan Carlos I, we will be able to accommodate 8 researchers for Antarctica InSync during the time of the InSync project. The big difference between Juan Carlos I and Gabriel de Castilla is that Gabriel de Castilla is situated in Deception Island, that this is one of the active volcanoes in Antarctica, and in Juan Carlos I we have direct access to the glaciers on the island and Livingston Island, so we will provide full logistic support and technical support for anyone coming. So next, please. Regarding the vessels, we will be working with during the framework of Antarctica InSync, mainly with 2 vessels. So this is a picture of the 3 vessels that we are sending to Antarctica, but we will be always working with the Hesperides, that is the old vessel, but it's a fully equipped research vessel, and we can accommodate 6 people from Antarctica InSync in our cruises. Next, please, is Odon de Buen. This is the newest vessel in our fleet. It's a PC7 vessel, and in the following slide, we will see where she will be operating within Antarctica framework. And next one, please. Sarmiento de Gamboa is the other vessel. So in all 3 vessels are pure research vessels, so we will be able to do any kind of science from geophysics to biochemistry or biological cruises. So projects are still to define, especially for 2028, 2029, but we will be informed accordingly. And next one, please.
Please come to an end.
Yeah, this is the next is the last one. This is the area where we will be operating during the coming years. So in 27, 28, and 29, we will have quite cruises on the North Weddell Sea, along Antarctic Peninsula, and for the next year, we will be also working on Bellingshausen Sea. And that is for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we come to our next steps, Young Chul will talk for just a minute.
Thank you. I'm afraid I have not managed to make a slide presentation for today, but I can certainly say our ship, Icebreaker, will be fully out for the upcoming 3 field seasons. And the Rossi, centered around Terra Nova Bay, will be likely our base camp-like waters, but we will have addition of Amundsen Sea and possibly waters in front of northern Victoria Land, such as Cape Adare. Regarding themes, we have just about across all the themes working programs, but the first 3, heat and carbon, sea ice decline, and glacial change and sea level rise, the first 3 will be our ship time determining programs. We have now wish lists are being collected, but how we actually we distribute these ambitions into actual time slots and windows, that's what we have to finish in the coming 2 months or so. So we're kind of time pressed. But when we have a shipping plan, we will have it available to the community. One thing I might add regarding inland operation, we're planning for a large subglacial drilling field research in 28-29 field season. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Young-Chul. Maybe you can provide all these very interesting information in just one slide, and then we can add it to our presentation
I
and we
will
can
do that.
upload it to the
I will
community.
do that.
Thank you very much.
My
Okay,
pleasure.
now we come to the next steps, and this is presented
Carleen,
by
quickly, Fausto wanted to present as well.
Fausto. I'm sorry. I will stop.
No worries. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so very, very quickly, I just wanted to mention that there may be some exciting opportunities of synergies between international airborne geophysics and InSync. Airborne geophysics plays a pivotal role, we believe, particularly in Antarctica InSync theme 3 on Antarctic ice sheets, but also potentially in cross-cutting themes such as Earth observation. I want to mention to you that there is a major international initiative called RINGS that is coordinated by Kenny Matsuoka, and so far most of the work has been done looking at trying to determine bed conditions beneath the grounding zone, but there could be exciting opportunities to look, for example, offshore in combination with InSync work, and perhaps also inshore of the modern grounding zone. Just to recall, with airborne geophysics, we can collate data on the ice sheet, on glacial structures, on the bed, and the geology that lies beneath. This is a compilation that shows you all of the different international platforms that are out there, and therefore I recommend that you contact Kenny Matsuoka to see if there might be opportunities for access to these during InSync. In terms of what we might deliver with airborne geophysics, particularly exciting, I think, for InSync could be the continental shelf and the cavity bathymetry, as well as improved imaging of basal boundary conditions, such as geothermal heat flux and subglacial hydrology, as well as bed topography. I want to present just one single example of a funded project at Dome C by the Italian Antarctic program that will deploy for the first time from an aircraft an ultra-wideband radiometer, and if this is successful, then maybe one could consider as part of InSync further extensions. The campaign will be flown in 27-28. And this is the area of the subglacial lakes at Dome C. And I just want to close with exciting opportunities that might be out there of using UAVs to try and image the bed beneath the ice sheet. This is, for example, the use of UAVs has been experimented by the British Antarctic Survey, but also by the Russians, and there could be real space for innovation here. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Fausto. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Now we come to the very end, and Alex will present the next step.
Thanks, everyone. While the slide is coming up, I just wanted to thank everyone also for presenting these infrastructures. This has been a very exciting session to see all the infrastructure that's coming together. I think it's really promising and huge circumpolar effort that is coming together. And it's really great to see, and I hope that we will manage to coordinate all these efforts throughout the year even more than we are already. And this is really exciting to see, and I'm looking forward to more to come. Next steps for Antarctica InSync is that we definitely encourage everyone also within the themes to have a regular exchange. Please meet also within the themes. Make sure that the working groups come together, also coordinate among the working group and beyond. Also, of course, consider to join working groups or initiate working groups if there are still some missing. This call is running and still open, so you're still most welcome to propose more working groups and strengthen also the cross-theme collaboration in that respect. Please also feel free to share your updates, also the national updates from the infrastructures, as I've mentioned before. Please send them to the coordination office. For the next meetings, so we have the SCAR Open Science Conference coming up with plenty of Antarctica InSync events. Some of them mentioned already today. So we have compiled a list of these events on the website, and you can scan this QR code or go to the website to find them there. And please join us during these events in Oslo at the SCAR Open Science Conference. And then last but not least, we are very much looking forward to the Antarctica InSync implementation workshop that will happen in November in Frascati, and the registration for this will be sent around through the newsletter very soon. So please register for the newsletter to receive these updates. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
So with this, we end the webinar, and thanks for joining today.